Well, in many parts of Britain, the idea of depopulation seems pretty alien. The number of people living here has risen by about 10 million over the last couple of decades, mainly because of immigration. But that growth isn't evenly spread. In outlying parts of Scotland, the problem isn't pressure on the green belt, an insatiable demand for new housing estates, or NIMBYism. No, in many parts of Scotland, there simply aren't enough people to go around. Partly it's a function of demography. Scotland has one of Europe's lowest birth rates, much lower than the rest of the UK's. But it's also struggling to keep the population of its archipelago at a level that can sustain communities. There are almost 800 Scottish islands, 93 of which are inhabited. Island populations range from 20,000 to just one. The SNP is bound to a manifesto pledge to help, but its plan to offer settlers £50,000 to relocate to remote islands has been criticised today as a gimmick. And it does raise questions. It's one thing to move to an island, but will you fit in? How easy is it to get there? The SNP is mired in a controversy about its mishandling of plans for new island ferries. And who will be eligible? The SNP is consulting on plans to spend £5 million on the scheme over the next 5 years, with 100 resettlement bonds for working-age adults and families. But who will decide who's likely to fit into these often tight-knit communities? Will people from other parts of the UK who might bring much-needed skills be barred from applying because they aren't sufficiently Scottish? Maybe rather than tweeting about, quote, pregnant people, in other words, mothers, as it did last week, the Scottish Government needs to think harder about how the country can get its birth rate up. With us now, Jamie Blackett, a Scottish landowner and leader of a pro-union Alliance for Unity group. Jamie Blackett, so good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Good evening, Colin.
Island life isn't for everyone, is it?
Well, I live on the mainland, so I can't comment directly on island life, but I live in Dumfries and Galloway, which is has a similar problem, really. The council published a plan recently that envisaged depopulation, as you've just said, which is extraordinary, given what we've just been through with COVID, with more and more people working from home. I'm speaking to you in my holiday garb, I'm afraid. I'm on holiday in the Highlands, and I'm speaking to you from a hotel lounge in Bewley, which just goes to underline how easy it is now to work from anywhere. And you would have thought, therefore, that these beautiful parts of the United Kingdom, not a great numbers of people knocking about, as you say, no traffic jams, very little spoiling your view, no noise or light pollution. You would have thought that people would be flocking to live in rural parts of Scotland, particularly on the islands up the west coast, which are some of the most beautiful parts of the UK. But clearly they're not. And, there has to be a reason for that. And I think that is that we've had 14 years of a stagnant economy, of division and hatred, in some cases, a grudge and grievance. And this never-endum that's going on and on.
I mean, Jamie, there were just at this time of the year especially, there will be people saying, look at the roads on the west coast, look at the roads around Sutherland, the new sort of Route 66 that's absolutely chock-a-block right now with camper vans and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But that is different, as you say. It's different from living there. And to live on the islands, you need good transport links. And that is a story to be told, isn't it, about what's happening with the ferries especially?
Yeah. Well, that's the nub of this, isn't it? That they've come up with this gimmick and they're going to spend all this money on picking winners in this great lottery to go and live on the island of your dreams, instead of fixing the drug deaths problem, which is the worst in Europe, and on fixing the infrastructure, which is making a lot of people leave rural Scotland in the first place, and fixing the housing problem. I mean, it's very, very difficult to build a house in the Scottish countryside. Yet there are loads of young people who want houses, who want the ability to put down roots in the community that they grew up in. And I think that's where they should be addressing their energies. And the other thing I've noticed is that this gimmick, which is no doubt designed to grab headlines, fits neatly with their narrative that they're trying to push. At one level, they're pushing this narrative that these communities are suffering because of Brexit, and therefore they've got to pump money in and new people and all the rest of it. Well, of course, an island community is by definition a coastal community, and in many cases heavily involved in fishing. And guess what? We've just taken back all our fishing grounds.
And Jamie,
you would have thought, therefore, that these communities, with the right assistance, could be about to take off.
Well, they might. Jamie, we have to leave it there. We're almost out of time. But Jamie Blackett, thanks so much for joining us.
Colin, many thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Now.